I guess I put the banner up. Is it the Patriots at number 2 here, or are you going to go full homer?
No, I do have the Patriots at number 2,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like
Okay.
this is fair.
Mm-hmm.
They're not ready. I don't know if they're ready to compete with the Bills yet, but I think maybe besides the offensive line, I don't think it's crazy to say that I think the Patriots will be better at every position group than they were last season. Their offensive line was obviously really good last season, and I think it's going to be really good again this season. But, quarterback struggled last season, receiver struggled last season. I even think as far, for the talent that they have in the secondary, I thought the secondary struggled last season. All that being said, they struggled at all these different position groups, and they won 7 games. I think everything is going to be better this season. So that's why I expect this team to make the playoffs. I think that they have the talent to make the playoffs. Maybe the biggest question, obviously, is quarterback, but they're in that position to potentially make it. So I have the Patriots here at number 2 and probably in a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think this is fair. This is also, we are in lockstep here. I feel like this is, in my opinion, this is one of the easier divisions to rate. I think some people would have, Miami and New England's flipped, but to me, this feels right. Bill Belichick, best coach in football. That adds, 0.8 of a win right there. Also, maybe this will get some of the Dolphins fans mad. I do have Mac Jones and Cam Newton as a tier 4 quarterback room. I think it's slightly better. I think, again, having an extra guy in there, I should have mentioned Jacoby Brissett is in the Dolphins quarterback room as well. But, I'm high on Mac Jones. I like him. And I think Cam Newton, again, if we're talking about last year, he did play better than Tua. So he was 2 spots ahead of Tua in my ratings. So, again, we're quibbling over that stuff. It's only a win difference, but I do have this as a tier 4 quarterback room. It's still probably the biggest concern going into the year, but there also was some upside as well with, hey, maybe Mac Jones takes over and is really good.
Yeah, and all the reports, although I don't believe reports in Patriots camp just because of the history, especially when it comes to quarterback. Shout out to Jared Stidham and Ryan Mallett being the answer.
I was so ready for Stidham to be good. I got a Stidham rookie card and everything. I thought it was going to be great.
Yeah, I never believe it, but I had Mac Jones as the 3rd best quarterback in the draft, which is the deep quarterback class. I like Mac Jones. I talked about it in this podcast. I bet on him last offseason to win the Heisman when he got robbed by Devontae Smith. So I've always been high on this guy. He's hyper accurate. I think he's just a leader. I think he knows what he's doing out there, and I'm excited to see him in the NFL. And I think he's going to take over the job sooner rather than later, honestly.
Yeah, and even Cam Newton, like, it is worth mentioning, like, he threw for 400 yards against Seattle. Like, he wasn't a complete mess out there. Now, I think COVID certainly derailed his season. Like, COVID just affects people differently. I remember I was walking around. It was like not even like that. I think it was like I probably walked like 3 or 4 miles, like 6 months after I had COVID, and I was just like completely gassed where I'd never been before. I do think COVID affects people differently, so maybe that's a factor as well. Maybe it's not, and maybe he just, again, I'm not sure how much it affects. He missed some throws as well, but he's not a horrible quarterback as well, and it's not. There's a higher floor at least as well compared to someone like the Jets, where if Zach Wilson has a bad rookie season, they're just going to be bad. In that regard.
Yeah, exactly. And I was the same thing. I had chest congestion for months after COVID, so. And I don't run every day, so that obviously adds to it too. So we'll see what happens. I think at the very least, though, with Cam, they ran the ball pretty well. He's still really mobile. He can do stuff with that. You want to see him a little more accurate on some of the touch throws, but at the same time, I kind of just feel like, hey, that's who Cam Newton is at this point. He's not going to be great at a lot of that stuff. I think they're going to adjust his game plan, and part of the reason why I said I think at the very least I say everything's better for the Patriots than last season is, it can't get much worse than it was last season at times. So I think that Cam Newton, with a full season under his belt and with the full offseason, even if it's not great, I still think it's going to be better than last season. So I believe in this Patriots team, and I believe, they're going to figure it out at quarterback.
Yeah, going to running back, Thomas Merkel said running back is tier 3 for the Pats. Thomas, I'm not sure how you got access to my notes, but yes, that is correct. Tier 3 running back room. They, the Patriots just always seem to draft the running backs that I'm high on before the draft, because they got Damian Harris back then, who I was a big fan of. They now get Ramondre Stevenson, who I've talked very highly of. They did get Sony Michel as well, who obviously had that great rookie season and has kind of been since then. And they still have James White, who's a good receiving back. Could we see a breakout season from Damian Harris this year?
Yes, I think that's definitely a possibility. The biggest thing with him is staying healthy. First 2 years, he's battled with injuries, but when you take some of it with a grain of salt. But Pro Football Focus graded him really highly in the games that he did play last season. And I think the big thing with Harrison Stevenson too, who I wrote an article for GuyBostonSports.com about 4 Patriots who I think could have breakout seasons. And Ramondre Stevenson was one of the only rookie I put on the list. And one of the things I like about Stevenson and along with Harris is it just fits our kind of thing. We love one-cut running backs that are just downhill runners. Both of those guys kind of do the same thing. They see the hole, they cut and explode through it. I'm really excited to see those two. And then, James White is the mainstay in this running back room as the pass-catching blocking guy.
Yeah, I was ready for the Bucs to get James White. So close.
I kind of expected it to happen too because it just made a ton of sense. But at the same time,
I thought it was going to happen.
I was literally kept him.
Yeah, I was literally when I was thinking about the Buccaneers, okay, so we have Leonard Fournette, we have James White. I'm like, okay, wait, no, we don't actually have him yet. And it didn't go that way. Let's talk about the receiving room. They put a lot of emphasis in trying to make this better, and for a good reason. Wasn't great last year, and I do think they improved it. How much is the question? But they have Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, and N'Keal Harry. And again, we take tight ends into account, so getting Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith does help push this into it's a tier 4 receiving back or receiving room. So it's still not fantastic, not elite, but it is a big upgrade from the tier 5 it was last year.
Yeah, this is the same thing that we've kind of talked about with the Jets too. Is like there's some pieces you like here, and there's pieces I like here. The problem is that there's no real elite guys to this group yet. We just haven't seen any of these guys really stand out. The weird thing is you look at this team and there was 2 nearly 1,000-yard receivers last year on this team now with Aguilar and Jacoby Myers, which is kind of funny to think about. But, Aguilar had a really good year last year, and I think he's going to add a specific role to this team, which I think they needed because they didn't really, Damier Byrd was their vertical threat last season. And now Aguilar, I think, is much better than Damier Byrd. How much better is the question. And then exactly. And then you got 2 awesome red zone options in Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Smith's red zone numbers were fantastic last year with the Titans. Now, how much of that was the Titans offense? And then Hunter Henry's always just kind of been that guy when he's on the field. The question is he going to be healthy? Because that's been his thing too.
Yes. How concerned are you though that N'Keal Harry could be traded? That could really throw a wrench in all these plans.
I've been saying that we should trade him to the Rams for an in-and-out franchise at Patriot Place. I feel like that's a pretty good value for him.
Yeah, I'd take that.
That'd be great. Or we could trade into the Packers for a Culver's at Patriot Place. One of those two I'm down for. But, if we have to settle for like a 6th-round pick, I guess that's fine too.
Yeah. What draft pick would you let your team give up to get like an in-and-out next to you? If you're living in if you're living in a place where there is no in and out around you, I think I'd be happy about giving up like a 3rd round pick, putting it out right in my neighborhood. I'll take that.
Yeah, and if anyone gets on this chat to say in and out's trash, you're getting blocked, by the way.
Yes,
don't you dare come in. Don't you dare come in here with that kind of negativity. Get the animal style fries; it'll change your opinion. I think 4th or 5th round pick's fair. In and out's fantastic.
Yes. Also fantastic. How's this for a segue? Probably the gold standard of the New England Patriots right now. The best quality they have is their offensive line. You have Isaiah Wynn, who has struggled injuries, but has been good when healthy. They added Trent Brown as their other tackle, who, again, he had that weird season with the Raiders, but we've seen what he can do on the field. For guard, looks like it'll be Shaq Mason and Michael Onwenu, who, Onwenu was a tackle last year and was great, and now they're moving him to guard, it seems. I believe that's the case. And you have David Andrews at center. This is a tier 1 offensive line.
Yeah, with Marcus Cannon out, he started out as Onwenu started as a tackle, was awesome there. He filled in at different spots based on injuries and was pretty much awesome anywhere. And he came into the league starting as a guard. That was his position heading into the draft. He's an awesome talent. The fact that we got him as a 6th round pick is the steal of the draft last season. And this is a really good 5-man guys for offensive line. I really like Isaiah Wynn when he's on the field. The question is he going to be on the field? Trent Brown's a monster when he's, engaged. David Andrews is really good. Happy to have him back. Shaq Mason on Wenyu. The one thing I question about this team is the depth. I think that they have depth in the middle with Karras and Ferenc, but if one of Wynn or Brown get hurt, which is the two guys most likely to get hurt on this team, I question the depth at tackle. But overall, the first 5 guys I think are fantastic and among the best in the league.
Well, couldn't you just move on Wenyu to tackle then, and then put someone new in guard?
You could, and that's probably what would happen. But at the same time, it changes things around, and that's still a concern for me. And this line, it was awesome last season, but it got a little worse when Wynn wasn't playing, and that's just something you're concerned about with that left tackle spot with an injury-prone left tackle.
Yeah, man, I'm sure the Bill Belichick has already got some undrafted free agent who's going to be the next Joe Thomas.
That's probably the case, so it works out for us.
Yeah, exactly. So offense, not incredible, but not a mess either. 24th in the NFL.
And that feels fair. And the upside's higher, obviously, if Mac Jones can come in or Cam Newton gets better next season. And then as we talk about it, it could be a tier 3 running back room, but if you add Cam Newton into that and throw this running game together, I think they, led the league in carries last season and had him on the highest yards per carry last year, if I remember correctly. I didn't pull up the stats for this one, but, it's going to be a very good running offense again, I think, next season. If Jones comes in, that changes a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, and then going over to defense now, again, best part about this defense is going to be the coverage. And I think the question is, what Stephon Gilmore are we going to see? He had that defensive player of the year season, which, after he's only done that once. I feel like I've only seen him be that player once, and so I would say he's probably not quite going to be the number 1 corner, but could he be a top 5 corner? I could see that. And then you have J.C. Jackson, who is really good. You also have Jonathan Jones and a bunch of safeties: Adrian Phillips, Devin McCourty, Jalen Mills, and Kyle Duggar. Not to mention Donta Hightower could be back. Jawan Bentley, Raekwon McMillan, who's above replacement level, but he's off on coverage, so that doesn't apply here too much. But, there's a lot of good corners here. I do think this is still a tier 1 room, in my opinion, and I'm sure you can go into detail about some of these other guys.
Yeah, so I think the interesting thing with the Patriots and what they do with this group is, where does everyone align? Because obviously, I think Gilmore figures out this contract situation, shows up. J.C. Jackson has obviously proven to be very good. Probably a number 1 corner on a lot of teams, but here he's a number 2, and he's overqualified number 2, similar to the Dolphins. Oh my God, what a big play! Sorry, Jonathan Jones.
Happened? What are you watching? Let us know.
I'm watching the penalties for Euro 2020. Italy had a chance to win it in penalties, and Jorginho's penalty was saved. So we're going to go into sudden death penalties now here as Pickford makes the big stop.
Wow, big. Which one's the one that everyone hates? The internet's mad at one of those teams.
Historically, Italy is really annoying, but they're playing pretty exciting football this time around. And then England has just been really annoying because anytime they win a game, their entire fan base yells, "It's coming home." So
I see.
Yeah,
I think England's. I think Reddit's mad at England.
I wouldn't be surprised, and they're not a fun team to root for sometimes. Another save. Oh my God, this is nuts. So anyway, let's get back into the secondary. So where do these teams align? Where do these guys align? I think Gilmore and Jackson are sure things. I think McCourty is a sure thing at the back as that deep safety role. Now, the thing that's going to be interesting is you could see Adrian Phillips line up in the box, kind of in that Patrick Chung role. You can kind of see him line up in that big nickel role. But at the same time, Jalen Mills has been really good in that big nickel role basically for his career in Philadelphia. So that's the guy you see there as kind of that Tyrann Mathieu light situation. Kyle Duggar is a huge safety with athletic ability who showed really good chops rushing the passer and doing different things. So you have these guys that you all have to balance out. Not to mention you have Donta Hightower. Jawan Bentley's terrible in coverage, so third down situations, you're probably taking him out. You have Josh Uche, who's the backup outside linebacker who can fill in the middle in coverage situations. So there's a lot of different guys who I think are really talented. It's just how you fit it all together and how all these pieces fit. I'm not worried with Bill Belichick, but it is interesting because he has so many options to go with these guys.
Yeah, should be fun to see how that all plays out. Also going on to the front 7. You have, for the interior defensive linemen, you have Henry Anderson, Lawrence Guy, Byron Cowart. And then you have also, they added Devon Godshaw, who I was a big fan of from Miami. They drafted Christian Barmore, who in the second round, who I was a big fan of, thought should have gone in the first round out of Alabama. And for the edge, you got guys like Matt Judon, Kyle Van Noy, Chase Winovich, who, if Winovich can just become a competent run defender, he could take the next step because he's so good at rushing the passer. This is tier 3 for me in both groups.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I actually like this run defense a little bit more with Godshaw, Bentley, and Hightower back. I think that's a really talented group. And then obviously the pass rushing is going to be the big thing. I think Van Noy being back is huge. I think Matthew Judon being on that group is huge. Uche, I think, can have a big year. Winovich, he's kind of in the hot seat now with all these guys. Belichick didn't play him a lot the second half of the season because he didn't improve a lot of this area. So he's kind of in the hot seat, and there's guys behind him waiting for that position and get those reps. The front three is going to be interesting because you have obviously Gottschalk coming in as the run-stuffing nose tackle. The big guy that I'm interested in watching is Christian Barmore, because when I watched him in college, I kind of thought, hey, this guy, he's obviously a defensive tackle, but I also think he can operate as a 3-4 defensive end. And I could see that sort of situation. Patriots like bigger 3-4 defensive ends like Lawrence Guy. I think Barmore could be in that situation. And then on obvious pass situations, move on the inside while Gottschalk comes out. So they can do a lot of different things with this group too. And I think that's the one thing Belichick loves about this team and this defense this season is the versatility of this group and doing a lot of different things. They have so many guys and so much depth at every position that they can move guys around based on situational spots.
Right. Good stuff there by you. It's always nice to have, the Patriots expert here to go over this team. Because again, there's always a lot of research involved in the Patriots, given their, the way that they run their team. You don't just look at, okay, those are the 4 starters. They get a lot more creative than that. Kicker, Nick Folk, tier 3, whatever. Totally not salty about him being horrible in Tampa Bay and then being at least okay with New England. Overall, New England Patriots, 9.52 wins is where I have them at. They have the 5th best defense, 24th best offense. That puts them at 15th in the NFL, which is 7th in the AFC. I do have the Patriots as a playoff team as it stands right now.
Yeah. I mean, it feels possible. It feels like it should happen. The quarterback play is the biggest question. I mean, if this turns into like a tier 3 quarterback play, I feel like this team's easily in the playoffs. Now, the biggest question is, can you get even tier 3 quarterback play out of this group? It remains to be seen, but that's the biggest question for the Patriots overall. And I think that they can be pretty good next season. Also, along with Nick Folk, tier 1 punter, Jake Bailey, our best player last season.
Yes, Jake Bailey. Big fan of Jake Bailey. Again, punters, they barely matter. I'm just going to, that's, if we're being honest, a punter does not matter that much, but they do have great special teams, outside of just the kicker.
Yeah. I mean, so it's an interesting group. Like I said, I think there's versatility to this defense, which makes it interesting. And then the biggest question, like I said, is going to be quarterback and how all these pieces on defense fit. Because I think one of the things, like you said, it's like the Patriots aren't a conventional team. You got to look at different things when it comes to them. I think the biggest problem with last season is you saw guys like Juwan Bentley kind of stuck playing 3 downs. And Juwan Bentley, because of the lack of depth last season, he's an awful coverage linebacker. He can't get out on running backs. He can't cover slot guys. And honestly, he's not very good on tight ends either, despite his size. So he's a guy who really struggles in coverage. He was forced to play a lot of downs. This team, he's not going to be asked to be a lot in the coverage situations. So it changes a lot of this defense. And I think that the versatility makes it, I think it's going to end up as a top 10 defense next season, if not top 6 or 7.
Do you think Bill Belichick is going to be even more motivated now that Tampa Bay has won 3 championships in under 300 days? Do you think that now he's going to really want to win?
Yes. Bill Belichick didn't want to win before that.
Right. Before, people always said about Bill Belichick, he would be the guy that would go out and say, like, just have fun. Just, everyone plays safe. Don't hurt anybody. If you have to take a playoff, take a playoff. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. He is, one of the most easygoing coaches in the league. So it makes perfect
players
sense.
Coach. Yeah, exactly. I love that. Please let the Patriots and Bucs play each other in the Super Bowl, not just for us, but just for the, first take, undisputed, all that stuff will be electric if those 2 teams go to playoffs.
Well,
go to the Super Bowl.
I'm looking forward to the October 8th game. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that should be fun.